Hello, everyone. How are you? I am doing great. And I wanted to come right now I'm live on Facebook, but I'll have it available later on Instagram and YouTube and all that. And I wanted to come talk about the Jupiter Saturn conjunction that is happening Saturday. Um, I'm so wrong. I'm wrong. It's happening Monday. I'm so sorry. Um, I have Saturday on my mind though, so sorry about that. It's because this weekend is very, very good for starting projects. The whole weekend. Today, in fact, I just decided to come on live because of the how good the astrology is for us. So you can, with astrology, choose different times to do things, and it's supposed to be better than other times. If the astrology matches up with what you're trying to do and everything. So that's why I'm live right now. I'm adding stuff to my thing. That's a seashell. These are snowflakes right now because holiday time. And I have something fun to share especially for people who are in Alabama. Actually, I think it affected way more than Alabama. And that is that the Great Snowstorm of 1993, I don't know, how big. Warren said that it stretched across like several hundred miles, this storm, and it dumped a bunch of snow on Alabama in 1993. And I just got to thinking about it, and I have these cycles in my head, and I was like, oh my gosh, I bet Saturn was in Aquarius. And it was. And I thought, oh my gosh, I think the eclipses were in Sagittarius and Gemini. And it was. So maybe we'll get some snow this year. That's just my theory. Anyhow, let's get to it because I'm sure you guys want some information about this conjunction. I have been looking at the cycles and the patterns and what's obviously, my brain's going a million miles an hour and I'm thinking about like 1993 and what's going on, what's repeating. And there's a lot of stuff going around about this specific conjunction. Namely, this was what people suppose might have been was the Bethlehem star, right? I've been looking, I think it probably had Venus involved as well, which if you've seen it in the sky, it's really interesting, the two planets together. It seems to have a meaning, even if you don't believe in astrology. There's just something to it. It's like, wow, that's beautiful. This reality that we live in is so gorgeous. These two planets getting closer and closer together, and it's just wonderful, right? So, but it definitely seems to hold meaning in some way. And of course, during that time, it certainly did, right? Like that's it heralded the arrival of a special child. So yes, that's been going around. That was probably a thing. So it definitely heralds great things. Jupiter is expansion and abundance, and Jupiter is truth and belief. And it rules at least man's knowledge, right? There's a whole theory around the archetype of Jupiter being within the boundaries of Saturn. So there are limitations, but it is the most expansive planet. And it's the biggest in the sky, and it's got several moons, and it's so cool. And then, of course, Saturn is limitation, and it is boundaries, and it is foundations and structures and rules, and that's so it makes smaller, and the words are escaping me for some reason right now. I sort of feel like I need to switch internets because this internet stuff is acting weird. I hope you guys can hear me and see me. I don't know. If you can hear me and see me, just let me know on Facebook. I hope it's not pausing at all. So Jupiter is expansion, and Saturn makes smaller, right? it hems in. It says, that's enough. You can't go there. You can't do this, or this is the way you should do it. It's the taskmaster. So when they both come together, it's an interesting mishmash of them, right? So you're having this breathing almost in and out. And why do I say breathing? Well, it's happening in the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is fixed air energy. I think a good metaphor for fixed air energy is the lungs. And you can hold fixed air. Release. Why don't you guys take a minute to do this with me if you're watching live, even if you're not watching live. There's the expansion of Jupiter. And there's Saturn, the breathing out. And that's what we're doing with this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. It is a breath of fresh air. That's what I truly believe. And there are many other things that we could say about this, right? It is, I also think that this year is going to be a lot like the Wizard of Oz. And I just want to get into the chart. Let's just go ahead and look at the chart here, because I have so many things to explain about why it is the way it is. So share screen. We're going to open up the stuff here. Whoa, is that a bunch of gobbledygook or what? I mean, it does look crazy. Every time I look at a chart, I'm like, whoa, like that's a lot of lines, a lot of math, a lot of points. What is it? You know, well, I always give my quick rundown. The outside here, those colorful things, those are the signs. Those move. This is the horizon here. Boom. So the signs, they move. Of course, that's not the perfect way to describe it because we are rotating. But just in terms of the chart, you know, this is the motion. Same with the sun. There's the sun. That's the motion of the sun. Okay. These little things are the planets. That's Pluto. There's Mercury. There's the sun. Da, 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 da. That's what that is. And those also move. These little pie pieces here. I hope you guys like my sounds. The little pie pieces are what is known as houses. Okay, so this is just how we divide the sky. Those do not move. The fourth house is always in this spot. The fourth house is always the fourth house. There's my quick rundown. So when you see me pointing to things and explaining it, I want to point to these objects. I want to teach a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to overwhelm you, but in order to show you where I get this, it's important. You have a lot of people saying astrology is bull crap, right? Only basic people believe in astrology. And I always come back with the fact that astrology is not something to believe in. Astrology is like Portuguese. Do you not believe in Portuguese? It's just a language. So you see what I'm saying? This is not like something to believe in. It's a way of describing reality, a way of looking at patterns. I like to say it's shorthand for history. Here's why I can do that. This is why I can think 1993. That's significant, right? Because, well, this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is every 20 years. A Saturn cycle is every 30. So, in between, let's say between 28 and 30, and it's 2021 we're coming up on. So yeah, it's almost 30 years ago that this 1993 thing happened. I bet Saturn was in Aquarius. So you see, once you start to get a hold of this orbit, well, that's just a 30, not exactly 30. The orbit is elliptical. Anyway, between 27 and 30, something like that. Same with the eclipse patterns. Those are every 18 years that it comes back to the same spot, but every 9 years it flips. So 9/18 with the eclipses. Pluto, 240 years. Even the conjunction of two different planets, so Saturn and Uranus, right? That's a 45-year. So you start to see how these cycles come back up and how you can put meaning to them. and see, okay, well, that matches with what was going on at that time in the archetypes. And it's just a language to explain reality, and it's pattern tracking. And it's not something to believe in or not. It's something that holds meaning if you choose to give it meaning. So that's my spiel on that. This is the chart for the Great Conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. And as you can see, I think it's interesting that at least in Birmingham, Alabama, Aquarius is also rising when this happens. So it's rising up over the horizon, which means we can't see it until after sun sets right here. So when the sun goes down here, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction will be up here in the sky. So it's even helpful to understand your sky and to understand where things are. And I know that by saying, okay, well, this is how our sky is divided, I can figure out what moon phase we're in. It's very useful. So back to the meaning of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Well, again, Jupiter, truth, belief, expansion, abundance. Saturn, the taskmaster, rules, foundations. Those two, they're together. Aquarius. Now that is going to color more of this and give us, the signs are like adjectives, okay? The planets are nouns or they're functions. Maybe they're even verbs. The signs are adjectives. And then, you know, we can say that the houses that they're happening in are, I'm not good with grammar. I just realized that. I don't know what, anyway. Yeah, so the planets are the what, the signs are the how, the houses are the where. And that's why it's helpful to understand your own chart. So in terms of when I look at it for everybody, when I say, okay, this is what's going on for everybody, I do not look at the houses. You can do that. It's called mundane astrology, and you can figure out what's going on at a place, when, blah, blah, blah. But I don't, not for just looking at it collectively. So the fact that, you know, it's in the first house here doesn't matter. Now, it does become interesting if you are an Aquarius rising, because this will be happening directly in the spot of the chart known as the first house. And that is your identity. Any Aquarius stuff, honestly. If you have Aquarius planets anywhere, you need to be paying attention to that. You need to look at your chart and find out where Aquarius is. If you need help, if you need a chart, I'll send it to you. That's something I can do free of charge. I'll just shoot you your chart. You send me your birthday, your birth time, and I'll say, this is your chart. So super helpful. Find out where Aquarius is and what the theme of this house is. Okay. I may even go through the signs later. I think I should. But the reason I'm saying be aware of where it is because this theme is going to be active. This is a new cycle, a new 20-year cycle. And Aquarius is freedom, innovation, revolution, rebellion, upheaval, unexpected events. That is how this will be happening. This is how we will be expanding and how we will be building in an innovative way, in a fresh way, in a new way, in all of these things, okay? So that is in all of us. It's in everyone's chart. I have Aquarius somewhere. You have Aquarius somewhere. You don't have to have a planet there, but if you do, it just adds a little more significance. So this conjunction is a new cycle in terms of innovation. Astrology rules your community, your tribe. So I've been saying that this year will be the year that we really find who we align with. And think about that in terms of the past, in terms of 2020. What were we doing? We were isolating. We were getting away. We were like, no, I can't. And then you had to get real clear on who you wanted to see and who you didn't, your pods, right? So we've already had this stuff. And oftentimes with outer planets, these themes come up even before they're exact, okay? And they continue after they're exact. So that is what the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction has already been sort of pulling in, right? This find your tribe, find out who your pod is. Do those people align with you? Maybe you took a break from somebody and realized you really did want them in your life. Maybe you took a break from someone and said, actually, I do not miss them at all. That's going to be coming up this year a lot. Other things that could be coming up this year. the innovative technologies that we are creating as human species. So this is one of the reasons I've been saying, in my personal opinion, that I do not believe this virus will continue to be a huge problem, because I really believe that we are an innovative species and we can figure this out, right? So here we are with vaccines coming out. However you feel about them, there's also other innovative ways to go about this. Your pods, wearing masks, or however you choose, right? Like, I'm not going to go into all of the different things in society that people believe, but innovation is a big deal, as well as revolution and rebellion. Aquarius is the leader. It is the leader in terms of social changes. It's the higher vibration of Mercury. So we put a lot of thought into things when things are in Aquarius. So that's why if you're starting anything, any project, if you have something to launch, do it this weekend, even if it is symbolic. Okay, so even if you're writing a plan out, and even if you have to make adjustments throughout the year, which I will get to, we will have to make adjustments. The point being, really symbolically do something. I would say starting now, Jupiter and Saturn are very close together. They're both at 0 degrees of Aquarius right now. They're not exactly by minute together. That will be Monday. But from now until, a couple of weeks, we're going to be in this. I'm going to say be planning on what you want to launch, what you want to start. What are your new ideas? What ways do you want to break free? Okay, so this can be a project of you. You are the project, maybe, right? It could be a project of work. It could be a creative project, a project, with your children, a new routine. There are many, many ways this can be harnessed, but is absolutely a very potent time to be starting something, okay? And to break free of things you want to break free from, and to innovate your life, and to bring fresh air. We're breathing with this. We're breathing. Jupiter and Saturn come together in a fixed air sign. We're taking in new breath, okay? So I want to look at some things, especially in terms of dates coming up. I want to relate it to some big changes that we're going to go through. I want to relate it to some historical cycles. So, I hope you guys are, like comfortable if you're planning on watching this, because I'm going to get deep. I've been looking at this for a while. What astrologer hasn't? But man, if this isn't just some interesting stuff that we're coming into. And I'm saying it's like the Wizard of Oz. Okay, so let's start with today. That's what I want to do. I want to start with today. Today, let me actually set this to Aries rising so we don't have it changing all over the place. I think that will be a very good thing to do. Excuse me for just one moment. 0 Aries, apply. All right. That way we keep Aries right here on the start. Otherwise, it'll be crazy. So we've got Jupiter, Saturn here today. As you can see, they're both at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Look, 4 minutes, 17 minutes. That's how close. And I don't mean actual time minutes. This is minutes in space. So we're already in this energy. Jupiter this morning went into Aquarius. Hello. I love it. I'm so excited. Why? Because we were doing a bunch of work in Capricorn. Capricorn is the home of Saturn. So is Aquarius, but Capricorn is an earth sign. And that's actually where these Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions have been for several hundred years, maybe 200. I really should know my cycles better, but I'm trying. It's a lot of information to hold inside this I'm going to talk to myself better. It's a lot of information to hold in my brain. I almost said pea brain. That's sort of what I'm trying to stop myself, is that negative self-talk. Anyway, about 200 years, right? And I think I'm right about that. So that's where we've been doing a lot of work in our lives. And if you find Capricorn, you can see that's where we've been doing a lot of shifting. A lot of the Tower card moments came in this area of our life. But in terms of the Wizard of Oz, and y'all are gonna have to forgive me, but this is the Wizard of Oz that I'm looking at here. This year is. But that's the ordinary world. That's I mean, you think about it as black and white, and it's like on the farm, and got the grandma and grandpa and the doggy, and she fell in, she just had to go do her chores and stuff. But she was dreaming. We can look at the dreams of Dorothy as Neptune. And today the moon's in Pisces. So we've got a lot of dreaminess happening today, a lot of what ifs, and let yourself do that, right? I mean, don't float off into the sky here, but let yourself dream, imagine, okay? And so that's where we're at right now. We're at this, something feels different. Something is on the horizon, right? So yeah, what we're doing is new, it's innovative. And on Monday, let me get to Monday, we move into this area of the exact Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Now, make this 0 Aries too, so that we're not. Okay, so here's the exact Jupiter conjunction. Like I said, nothing really ever happens on that day, right? It's usually a much larger time frame that these changes happen, that these social shifts happen, that these cycles happen. And of course, if it's a 20-year cycle with Jupiter and Saturn specifically, then eventually there will be its own full moon aspect. It'll be Jupiter-Saturn opposition. And then it'll, so it'll come back around every 20 years. That's what it is. So it's not like a day that it may or may not seem big, right, to you. It may seem very mundane. Today seems very mundane to me, but if you talk to astrologers, they're doing stuff today. Okay, they are making plans today. But it doesn't feel necessarily like, upheaval or craziness, which is what I'm about to explain to you. And that's similar to the way Dorothy was. She was going around and doing her thing and like, yeah, here we go. Doing my chores. Oh, I fell in with the pigs. I think that was the thing she did. So whenever this is happening, whenever she's going about her daily chores, I want to bring the timeline of time. I want to bring an idea of what time is, right? The Wizard of Oz moments existed already. She just didn't know it. She hadn't lived it yet. So this is why this time is really full and ripe with the future. Aquarius rules the future, okay? So we're thinking of goals right now. And you won't know it until maybe a year or two, or maybe even longer. And you'll look back and you'll go, that was such a formative time. Now, of course, coming off the heels of 2020, how can it not be a formative time? It's going to be a formative time. That's what we're doing. All right. So yeah, that day, I mean, I'm looking at other transits. The only thing that really pops out to me is just the fact that it's the solstice, obviously. Mercury's there with the sun. That's actually there today. It's known as a Mercury cazimi. A cazimi is just in the heart of the sun. They're together today. So they kind of track together. And when Saturn and Jupiter get together, Mercury and the sun are still very close. There's a message involved in this, a message from last year, because that's where the Capricorn stuff was happening. So there is don't forget, Pluto's still there. America's in its Pluto return, just, 240 years. That's the orbit. Pluto is transformation. So we're still transforming our foundations, the way society works, the rules, but now we're like getting into this, how can we innovate? You know, we had to break down the structures last year. So that's the message that's coming through with the Mercury, Sun, and Capricorn. They're like, we're still dealing with this. So don't forget about the real world. Just because we're going into this innovative territory, just because we're going into this future revolutionary, different alien world does not mean we're not still in the real world. That's how I'm interpreting that. Right now, Venus is in Sagittarius. The eclipses are in Gemini and Sagittarius. And so I'm still stuck on this Monday, this conjunction, because there's more to it. And that is Gemini. What is Gemini? It's an air sign. What is Aquarius? It's an air sign. So we are coming into an air time. Last year and this year, and I think I'm already talking in 2020 in terms of last year. If you help me say, hear me say last year, I'm probably talking about 2020. But 2020 and 2019, actually more 2019 in the beginning of 2020, we had the eclipses happening in Capricorn and Cancer. So we had eclipse patterns in earth signs. We had lots and lots of earth. Uranus is here in earth, and I will get to that later. But that being said, we are now shifting into a completely different element. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction was in earth signs for a couple hundred years. Last year was lots of earth energy, which can feel stagnant. It can feel heavy. It can feel like a lot of work, especially with Capricorn involved. The eclipse is there. Oh my gosh, you know. So this shift, which has already been underway, but is actually really, really getting underway starting now, is going to be very palpable. Things feel lighter. Things disperse. It's not heavy. Things move with air, even with fixed air. Air is air. So as fixed as the air can be, it's moving, right? You breathe in, you breathe out. You have to fill up a balloon. A balloon is like fixed air. So things are moving with the eclipse pattern being in air and fire. We just went through an eclipse here in Sagittarius. So that should inform us a little as well. We're really redefining our story with this, because the eclipse being there in Sagittarius is like, okay, let's rewrite the story. And now we're going to see the futuristic possibilities with Aquarius. Mars is on this day, on Monday. And it's really, again, when I say Monday, we're really kind of talking about this whole weekend, okay? Because pretty much things are there. The only difference being today the sun's in Sagittarius. Let me show you. So today the sun's in Sagittarius, and then we get Monday, it moves, of course, the solstice into Capricorn. So actually there's a good picture of the Mercury cazimi right now. Mercury and the sun just being buddies. Mercury is the messenger. It brings the messages from the sun to us. So enjoy some communication today, maybe getting some ideas. Lots of different possibilities. We move into tomorrow, and you see Sun and Mercury still together at Sag, then Monday is the biggest shift. Even the moon is still in the same sign right now. It's in Pisces. It'll be in Pisces during the Great Conjunction. So this thing that I was actually going to touch on is Mars being in Aries. That's our ego, our action, our will, and it's moving forward. But it's making a tense connection to Pluto. I'm going to say that's active today through Monday, which is power, transformation, and there is a bit of intensity wrapped up in this, a bit of I'm going to go my way, and I don't care. It's like burning bridges. That's really what I'm seeing with Mars square Pluto. It's like, I am done with this. I am done. So you could have some intense situations happening, being that Mars is in Aries, square Pluto over this weekend. But it gives us a little glimpse into our deep desires and how we really do want to change our world, okay? How we really want to move forward, which is what Mars wants to do. It wants to move forward. Okay, can I make it past Monday now? Because I really want to move past Monday. I'm going to move past Monday. This weekend, though, full of imagination, full of insight, full of thinking and contemplation and futuristic ideas, okay? And we start to move on. And the interesting thing is that Jupiter is moving very fast by this time, okay? Jupiter takes 12 years to move around the zodiac. But this year it will zoom through Aquarius into Pisces by April. That's 4 months, right? So this expansive energy in this futuristic, revolutionary, rebellious sign is also moving very fast. So you can expect things to feel like they're moving fast. So let's look. I'm just getting a hold of some things going on here. Jupiter moves to the 1st degree of Aquarius by Thursday. This is important. I think Thursday is going to be our first real glimpse at the actual upheaval that we're going to face this year. Now, when I say upheaval, please do not let it scare you, because my whole thing is upheaval can also happen when you win the lottery, right? Even the good things bring upheaval and shifting and change in such a way that we have to respond to it and we have to shift and adjust. So because of the nature of this year being in what's called fixed energy, you can expect to have the places that are fixed in your life be shifting. So be very, very open to shifting this year. Last year, it was a pause. It was a shift, but it was a shift into a pause, right? Into obstacles, into internal, into stay home, into all of that. This is a shift into God knows what. This is real shifting this year, okay? So I want to get that out as well right off the bat, because right off the bat on Thursday, Christmas Eve, the moon enters Taurus and it hits Uranus. Now, this is the other part of the story of this year. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. So Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, which is where we're having all this stuff happen. And Uranus is the planet, the function of shift, change, upheaval, rebellion, innovation, all of those words. So Uranus is over here in Taurus, a fixed earth sign, a very fixed place, which is we're innovating our values, our own self-worth, what our resources mean to us, food. I mean, that's Taurus. Taurus is the earth. Uranus being a function, being innovation, rebellion, upheaval, unexpected events, moving into the earth. Well, I mean, earthquakes. That's what that is. It's earthquakes. And you can really extrapolate that into other themes, right? So like we're talking about, let's just say we're talking about relationships, right? The things that are fixed there. Maybe someone changes and it feels like an earthquake to you emotionally. You can't, it's very hard to predict earthquakes, okay? So when astrologers predict things, I have a hard time with it. I have a hard time with the word prediction. I like forecasting. We forecast like the weather, right? You start to pick up on these things, these patterns that are happening, and you can forecast and say, this is the theme. But to say something is going to happen is nearly impossible with the fact that Uranus exists. because Uranus is unpredictable events. So it's there in Taurus, adding this innovation and this unpredictability to the earth, to food production. We've already had engineered meat be introduced. Earthquakes, literally. Think of how 2020 opened Puerto Rico, okay? These are the things I'm talking about, the actual realistic innovation. Think of Bitcoin, because we're thinking of finances too. The last time Uranus was in Taurus was the Great Depression. So unexpected events, right? The thing about Christmas Eve is that the moon joins Uranus there. And here's the other part of this story of the year. This is a whole year that we're dealing with this. So this is why I'm spending time. I'm being really nerdy with my astrology. I'm explaining it. A lot of times I've been not sharing the chart and just trying to be real simple with my explanations. And I'm still trying to do that. But for this year, I'm saying, look at this. This is something important, okay? And I want to show you and I want to teach you. In astrology, squares are tension and they each pull on each other. And Taurus is naturally square to Aquarius. So we've got some outer planet squares going on, okay? This is the thing. This is the thing. Uranus square Saturn and Jupiter all day. All year. But all day on Christmas Eve, okay? When it comes to exact moments, those are definitely there. I mean, you get people who are very precise with orbs being the degrees being exact, right? So Uranus is 6 degrees, Saturn at 0, Jupiter at 1. For this specific outer planet transits, that's what I'm saying. It's never leaves us this year. The only one that does is Jupiter. Jupiter moves very fast, but Saturn, Uranus is there all year. Now, how can we get a hold of this theme? Saturn in Aquarius is bringing mastery, but in an innovative way. It's asking you to innovate your structures, to maybe rebel in some way against the old way of doing things, revolutionize reality. That's Saturn in Aquarius, okay? It still is rules, it still is structure, but it is thinking about it in terms of the world, in terms of community, in terms of how can we help humanity evolve. It's less on its high horse like it was in Capricorn and more in like, okay, we got to make this work with everyone. That's Saturn in Aquarius. Uranus and Taurus is, I'm causing trouble over here. And this tension is actually, it will be probably uncomfortable. Shifting can never be super easy when you're getting out of an old rut, which is what fixed energy is. Like, it's not the easiest thing to do, but always on the backside, it's welcome. It's a welcome thing. It's like, yeah, I wanted to get out of that. It didn't feel good while I was getting out of it. It didn't feel good but I needed it. Okay. So we will have this value shifting, which is Uranus and Taurus, this upheaval in terms of resources, values, finances, affect our future plans, the way we're going to structure our life, and they're going to continually be back and forth all year. So just Saturn and Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius by itself is new energy, fresh energy, innovation, upheaval, change. But with Uranus and Taurus, it's more than that, right? Did Warren really decide to blow leaves while I'm doing my video? He really decided to blow leaves right outside my window. I mean, I think he's right up on the window right now. Listen. He has lost his mind. This is a very Uranus and Taurus energy. I had plans with Saturn and Aquarius to do things a certain way and to make it be this certain way. And Uranus and Taurus is like, yeah, well, here's something from the outside. Here's something that's going to challenge your values. How are you going to react? Okay. Anyway, I'm going to move on and try to ignore that. Every time, last time he was playing guitar, it's like, I tell him, I swear I tell him. Let's move on from Christmas Eve. So you're likely going to have some things come out of the blue, right? Now, I also think in terms of Christmas in general, what Christmas has been like in the past, right? With like this hustle to buy all the stuff and to get all the stuff and spend money. And, you know, all of a sudden life has changed and we are in this new mindset about our resources and our finances. And does that stuff really matter? Do I really? So like, for instance, I had to sit down with my kids the other day and I looked at them and I said, look, y'all have everything you need, don't you? And they said, yes, ma'am. And I said, you have everything you want, don't you? Like you have a this and a that and a this and a that. You have even a lot of toys that you don't play with, right? And they said, yes, ma'am. I said, so do you really need me to go buy you a bunch of stuff for Christmas? Like, let's really think about this. Is it going to make you happy? Because you are happy. You have what you need. Like what, you know, and they do. They have, oh my gosh, I have such wonderfully lucky, privileged children. I am wonderfully lucky and privileged. And I think that's something that Mercury and the sun are bringing into this whole equation. And Capricorn is like, hey, let's take a look. Let's take stock because this also is going to be trine Uranus. So this is working with Uranus where this is square Uranus. So I think it's like this new Christmas energy even. Like why? What matters? What truly matters? So maybe this year you get stuff you actually need and can use. Maybe this year you know, obviously we're not spending time with each other a whole lot. I mean, I don't think a lot of people are. At least that's the recommendation. Don't go to Christmas. Saturn and Jupiter and Aquarius. It's your community, your tribe, Uranus and Taurus. But my values are that I stay well. You can see how these things are interacting now. But also financially speaking, like a lot of people have lost their careers and some people gain new ones. And so like there's a lot of shifting in terms of resources here. And I mean, on a larger scale, I see this maybe as a shifting of resources for, you know, like a redistribution of wealth. Look at Bitcoin. I've been telling people to invest in Bitcoin for a while. We're talking about revolution in terms of our economy. And how did it have to happen? It had to happen this year with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. We're destroying old ways of doing things. Reset. Here we go. So that's just Christmas Eve. That gives us a first little preview of this, what it's going to feel like. Like, what is this going to feel like? Well, let's take Christmas and look at it, you know? Think about it. Well, things are going to be different. And I think that that realization is definitely going to set in if it hasn't already, you know? But definitely with the moon there on Christmas Eve and Christmas, it's like this visceral, emotional realization that things have really changed. And we are not going back to the old world, not by any stretch of the imagination are we going back to the old world. So let's just look at that as when Dorothy hit her head, right? Didn't she fall asleep or something? And oh, that's right. She had a tornado come. So there was a tornado and the door hit her head and she fell asleep. Okay. I got to keep relating it back to the Wizard of Oz. The next big thing going on, and it's hard to see, does this happen before this? Does this happen before this? I'll say Venus square Neptune is December 29th. That's going to be the Venus square Neptune and Sag square the nodes. Also, Vesta's there. But this is really a lot of like kind of confusing, like disillusionment energy. And, you know, on the heels of having a Christmas that didn't go like typically, and like maybe wanting to get out of town because Sagittarius is travel, and we can't really, and it's with the South Node, which is baggage, karma, old ways of doing things. You know, I think that we're just going to be like really want to get away, escape, do the party thing because that's what Sagittarius wants to do. But, you know, especially Vesta over here in Virgo saying, but you know what you have to be doing, which is not that or whatever. But to me, this is like, okay, the tornado's coming. Here we go, right? Like our whole world has just been shifted. And I think this holiday season is the realistic manifestation of it, more so than the rest of the year, more so than anything. This Christmas is like weird. This New Year's is like weird. That's the energy, even going into the new year. So actually, interestingly, let's look at New Year's Eve. We got, I'm gonna pull up midnight because why not? We're going into the beginning of 2021 with the moon in Leo. Well, what does that mean, Mandy? The moon in Leo. Who cares about the moon? Well, the moon in Leo is, I'm getting there. I had already passed it because I'm talking. Opposite Aquarius. So, fixed energy. Here are the fixed signs. Find this in your chart. Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio. These are the signs that anytime anything is in these signs, you're going to notice it. If you have planets in these signs, you're going to notice it. Fixed energy is what is really coming under the gun this year and next year, okay? So that's why I'm saying just get out your surfboard. We're going to surf. We are not doing this resisting this year. Like we are definitely going to be surfing. Midnight, January 1st, moon's in Leo, opposite Jupiter and Saturn. This is, you know, man, I really want to have fun. I really want to be hanging out with people, but it's square Uranus, which is a shift in the way we actually go about reality, our resources, namely health. I mean, health is a resource. I don't know about y'all, but that's how it feels to me. So at least the moon in Leo is open-hearted, really inner child energy. It's fun, but that's opposite this new world, Jupiter, Saturn, and Aquarius, and square this upheaval in our resources and stuff. So it's going to be that we're going into the new year with this brand new energy that feels new. You don't even know how to handle it. We're being forced to integrate it. Okay. And that's what I'm saying. This holiday season is just a lot of like realization. I think that's what it's going to be. I kind of skipped over the full moon. That happens, but I'll do a video for that. This is specifically about the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction and going into the new year, what that's going to be like. So the full moon is on December 30th. The good thing about this full moon is the first full moon without, in Cancer, without A, the eclipses being there, and B, the big boys in Capricorn, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. They're out of Capricorn now, except for Pluto. But for all intents and purposes, this full moon is just, okay, I'm sorry, December 29th, is going to be the better Cancer full moon than we've had in like 3 years. Okay, so that's going to feel quite nice, maybe a little emotional. But hopefully this, you know, emotional realization that things are different in a good way, in a way that we can like maybe build our families differently, our values, the way we nurture ourselves, the way we reparent ourselves, right? As we've gone through a shift and it's like emotionally integrated. Then the new year, yes, we would love to be in this Leo having fun partying atmosphere, but that's not the way it is this year. And so that's another realization. Now, there was one more thing I wanted to share as a date, because to me, this seems like, oh, and it's when Mars moves into Taurus. This is the other part of the story that's finishing up. Our new year doesn't really start astrologically for, I mean, like, that's why I can just breeze over January 1st. It's like, yeah, like, this is not like the beginning of the year. This is like the build up to the beginning of the year. Why? Because Mars is still being held back by Saturn. Mars was in Aries for 6 darn months, man. I mean, July straight through January. And it went retrograde in Aries. And so when Mars moves into Taurus, that will be, I am feeling like it'll be physically palpable. We get a lot of stuff done with Mars and Aries, but it's also been, like I said, held back by Saturn. It's been squaring Saturn for a while. This will be the first time it squares it in fixed signs. So that was in Cardinal all last year, which forces you to adjust, change. You know, like, you can't move forward with Mars in Saturn. Mars in Taurus is like, I really want to move, but I can't move yet. And you're going to have this Uranus to deal with, which is like, hey, it's making noise over here. Move, move, move. It's like the troublemaker whenever we're trying to do all of this like new innovative work and think about the future and think about how we're going to do things in the future and differently, and we're going to rebel. And Mars and Taurus is like, but I really like to feel comfortable. And this is really how I feel comfortable now. Those two things are not going to, so it's still like not moving forward, right? Like, there's something holding us back that we have to integrate and realize, and that's going to be the Taurus area of our lives. So Mars and Taurus really wants to feel good. It really goes a little bit slower in an earth sign, especially a fixed earth sign. It's like, and when I say that's the energy, not the actual physical movement of Mars, but Mars and Taurus is like steady and slowly trotting along. And Uranus is there. So it's like this slow burn, this steady rebellion, this steady, slow innovation. It's like having to tinker. I think of like inventions, right? This is the best way to describe it. You're making a prototype for an invention, but it requires you to work on it every day with little screwdrivers and little pieces and like a magnifying glass. And I mean, it's because it's like the steady, slow nature of it that I'm thinking of, right? So it will feel like you really want to get stuff done, but it's just happening slowly. Well, I say that's good, because I mean, we need the time to get used to this stuff. By January 14th, Uranus goes direct and Mars is there, still squaring Saturn, like it hasn't broken free yet. There it is, 3 degrees to 3 degrees. So that's what I'm saying. Don't expect to feel like you've broken free until January 19th. Oh, it's going to be so great. So there is one thing here. Mars is square Jupiter, but that's a very different thing than Mars squares Saturn. Mars is moving off from that square to Saturn. It's hitting Uranus, and I'm going to tell you, January 19th, that is the new year. That's the new year. That's when innovation happens. That's when you have a realization. That's when you're like, oh, this is the thing. Oh, okay. So take these days from now until January 19th to really integrate, to think about what this area of your life is versus this area of your life. Because by then, we're going to, the rest of the year is like, okay, picks up, and that's when the real shifts and the real changes get started. So that being said, let's do the rising signs and the sun signs for the conjunction, because I really, let me just stop this. Or actually, let me show it, because then if you're looking at your own chart, you'll be able to see, you'll be able to compare it. Whole sun, give me whole sun. Here we go, whole sun, calculate. All right. Yeah, that's a good, today's December 19th. It's so funny that today, December 19th, 30 days from now, January 19th, it's almost like the new year that wasn't. It's going to feel like a great, fresh new year, but it's still a lull. And then by January 19th, that's going to feel way more like the new year than this new year, okay? So let's start with, did it not? I don't want Aries rising. I want whole sign, so we can help people compare their chart. There we go. All right, we're going to start with Aries rising. Okay, let's get a hold of it. And here's what I want to do. We're going to look also at the chart and find Taurus. Okay, so here's what I want you to find in your chart. I want you to find where this symbol is and where this symbol is, okay? And I'm going to be giving you the two areas of the chart that will be in creative tension, in maybe sometimes cross purposes, feeling like they're disagreeing, but ultimately these two areas are going to be the big shifts. So I'm trying to pull everything up here and get ready. Aries rising, 11th house. Aries risings are going to be dealing with, because you have a natural zodiac chart, it's a natural chart, it's really a double theme here of social change, basically groups and communities. You could become a leader in a group and a community. This new cycle is about your groups, communities, and goals. So it could even be increased like political thinking or like social activism, stuff like that for you. Now, the second house, which is where this Taurus area is for Aries rising or Aries sun, but definitely risings, okay? This rising sign thing, there's a lot more to it, but you can also look for your sun sign. So we're having a new commitment, new cycle starting in terms of our friend groups and our social commitments and being a leader in the group, social activism, that sort of thing. But this Uranus and Taurus energy is where we're really shifting our values about our finances. So it's like, if you want to do that, you got to do this. You got to take care of your self-worth. You have to have a revolutionary self-worth. That in turn will affect your tribe, your communities. If you decide, I have all this self-worth now and I've got all this money and I'm going to hit the road and start to like really save money, and I'm just giving examples so that we can come up with metaphors so that you can apply it to your own life. But like, you know, you made a bunch of money in Bitcoin or something, you're living differently. Your resources are changing, right? And that could be even a decrease. Okay, so we're not talking about just increase, we're talking about decrease. However, the values around resources, finances are happening for you, that is what is going to cause this change in your group's commitments, your social activism, your goals. These two things affect the other, and not necessarily always in a fun way, right? So maybe you want to be going and networking, but you don't have the resources to do so. They're both going to be shifting. One affects the other. So if something's out of balance here, you have to balance it out here. For you, it's your groups, friends, tribe, social commitments, maybe even political activism, goals versus your finances, your self-worth, and how those two affect each other, okay? All right, now we're going to go to Taurus Rising. Okay, again, Taurus Rising, Taurus Sun. Find this in your chart. Okay, so this for you, Taurus Rising, Taurus Suns as well, is happening in your 10th house. This is like advancement and professional success, important career milestones, professional opportunity, progress for sure, and like your social reputation, maybe even a greater authority in your life. But let's look at Taurus. This Uranus and Taurus is affecting your whole identity. So your social conscious identity, like what you are consciously aware of that you put out to the world. Sometimes people aren't conscious of what they put out into the world. Well, Taurus Rising, you're about to be, because these two things affect each other. If you want the greater social status, career, public image, the identity, the conscious identity is going to have to shift. If you want to quit your job and be known for being a traveler, your social identity, your conscious identity is going to have to shift. Those are the two areas for you that are maybe sometimes at cross purposes. Maybe you really like wearing your hair long, but in order to have career success at this certain career, it really, they judge people with long hair and you have to have short hair. These are just examples, right? So you see how sometimes these can be at cross purposes, but they're both going to need adjustments in order to sort of come to an agreement. But those are the things that are shifting in your life around this time. So whether it be that your identity changes, which causes the career change, or the career change causes the identity change, that's what's coming up for Taurus and Taurus risings. Okay. We're going to go on to Gemini. Hello, Gemini, Gemini rising, Gemini sun. Find this little symbol and this little symbol. All right, this is much less based in like real world stuff for Gemini risings. Okay, this is much more almost metaphysical, esoteric sort of stuff. This is happening in your 9th house. So there seems to be like a new cycle starting in terms of philosophy, your truth, maybe pursuing opportunities for teaching or for learning, higher education, getting a degree. It could be even growth through things like publishing, studying, intellectual pursuits. But in a more metaphysical way, you're talking about personal belief and truth. So maybe even a change in religious belief, a change in how you innovate around what you believe about reality. So like I'm thinking even like becoming really adept at things like meditating or maybe getting into Buddhism and really learning about it, a stronger commitment to being a leader in your specific religion. But yeah, philosophical development, traveling as well is a 9th house issue. So if you are looking to travel or learn a new language, you see where I'm going with this. That's where the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is happening for you. Now the Taurus is in your 12th house, which is enlightenment and transcendence and dreams and spirituality. So that's honestly, you see how these two things, if you're having this shift in your background programming, in your maybe even upheaval in terms of your spirituality, it's going to force you into the 9th house, which is learning more about different techniques, about different philosophies, about maybe traveling, studying abroad. So this is a very spiritual sort of thing for you this year, Gemini. So you're probably going to be taking in more information and sharing more information all the time. All right. It should be said too to look at the other fixed signs, Scorpio and Leo, because towards, the middle of the year, those things start to be, even maybe Taurus time, those things start to come up as well. But I'll go over that later. Right now, I think we'll just keep it to these two signs. So we're going to look at now the Cancer rising, Cancer sun. Let me clear these circles out. There we go. All right, Cancers, I want y'all to find these two in your chart. Okay. So this is an interesting area to have the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, as it rules inheritance. It rules taxes and business partnerships, how you share your resources with people. So that means how you share yourself as a partner with people, what your boundaries are, what your rules are for yourself. So maybe you make a commitment to a new business, a new investment, even shared financial decisions and purchases. So a lot of times this can be marriage, new cycles starting in terms of your partnerships, even more trust and intimacy, like a deeper experience of that. You know, I think honestly it's very similar too for Leo risings, but I'm going to go with this. But especially for the 8th house, it's investment strategies. It's about agreeing to share assets in a certain way, even through marriage or divorce. So you could be getting a divorce, you could be getting a marriage, you could be stepping up into some new cycle with your marriage. But all of this is filtered through Aquarius, remember. So this is an innovative way of doing this stuff. So innovative business partnerships, maybe business partnerships with a bunch of people, you know, like with a whole group. Here's an example. I'm a Cancer rising. I just got voted to be the president of the Leeds Arts Council. This is the thing. See, so in a way, I'm their business partner, you know, and I'm stepping up to be a leader in that way. Now, where's the Taurus for Cancer risings? Taurus is in your 11th house, which is your friend groups, your goals. So if these deeper things with intimacy and trust and business partnerships are happening, it's going to affect your social circles, affect your goals. And you're going to want to either have different people around you or maybe be forced into a different social sphere, a different group. So your friends are going to go through some sort of shift, maybe in the values you hold around your tribe and around the future, versus business partnerships, investments, inheritances, the way you share resources, those things. And the way you share resources determines how you are friends with people. So these are the two things that are shifting for y'all. All right, now, Clea, let's go to Leo rising, which has similar connotations, but a little different. A little bit different, because this is also happening in a place of relationship for you. So it's not so much, it can be business partnerships in this area as well. And let me circle this for Leo risings, Leo sun, so you can find it. Okay. So, but this new cycle is how you relate to people. Okay. So, you could say maybe committing to socially relevant friendships, milestones in relationships, like maybe getting married or something like that. So you see how this is similar to Cancer rising, but there's also this, maybe you have a relationship with a new person, maybe a successful person, ambitious person, because that's what Aquarius is. It's the future, right? So new and innovative alliances, new ways of relating to people. I even think of this as like Aquarius on the 7th house is pretty open relationship territory, you know, like, but different ways of doing relationships, you know. So it's like, I don't want to live with you anymore. I want to live by myself, but I still want to date you, that kind of thing. Now, where Uranus and Taurus is happening for you is career, social reputation. That's where you're innovating. So I could see this being a public image thing shift. Maybe you step up in career and that shifts how you relate to your partner or other people, friends, things like that. Or maybe you meet a friend relationship that helps you in your career. But these two things are, they're not, I don't want to give the feeling that they're working together. They're both shifting and sort of pulling on each other. So career, relationships, but relationships being the more futuristic, innovative place, and the career being the thing that probably has to shift more in an uncomfortable or just like, I didn't expect that way. Okay, so now we're going to go to Virgo rising and Virgo sun. Find where Aquarius is on your chart and where Taurus is on your chart. Now, for Virgo risings, Virgo sun, this is a very real place to have this. Okay, a lot of these have been like your career and your spirituality and your, no, this is like, okay, what we're doing here is looking at our everyday life and our health and what we want to be doing every day, the people we want to work with every day. So you commit to health, commit to self-betterment, right? Commit to getting better healthcare or a job promotion, because the sixth house rules, it rules work in an everyday sense. So not so much like your career image, but the sixth house rules like what I do literally every day for work. So instead of working in spreadsheets, now I'm going to be doing sales. That sort of shift. Okay, so this is a great time for Virgo risings or Virgo suns to shift career stuff. What else could I say? It's also the house of routine and ritual. So really starting a good routine, one that really helps you every day get on top of this thing called life. Also being a good manager, being someone who really leads in terms of your job. If you have workers or employees under you, that's very big deal for you right now. So where this Taurus shift is happening, and these two things are going to be pulling on each other, is the area of higher education. Maybe it's like, if I want to do, be this specific, have this specific job shift, then I have to go get another certification, that kind of thing. So they're going to be pulling on each other. The other thing with Uranus and Taurus is new spiritual values, new, maybe your mind opening more, and that changes how you look at what you were doing every day. So it's like, wait a minute, I don't want to be sitting in a box every day. My spirit is awakening to this thing called life, and I don't want to be in a box every day. So these are the shifts. If you have a fundamental belief or truth change, it's going to change what you do every day. And those are the two places for Virgo. All right, Libra rising, Libra sun. Where's my mouse? There it is. Come here. All right, there we go. Find where this is in your chart. And of course, this is all year, y'all. I'm doing this. This is a whole year thing. Jupiter, Saturn conjunction in your fifth house. This is children. This is inner child work. This is creativity. This is like, so for instance, you could find yourself dealing with children more than usual, having a child, or having a new creative project. I mean, maybe even mentoring children, even if you're like an aunt or something. So it doesn't have to necessarily be your children, but this is a very, I mean, and when I say child too, I think of new energy, which is why it's also creative projects, your heart chakra. So we could even say more attention, like you need to be having more fun and enjoying your life. But you could also look at that filter through a more serious approach to creativity and self-expression, like you want to make something of it. So I feel like the internet's being wonky. Okay, so where Taurus is for you, Libra rising, Libra sun, where you're having a shift, is this area of shared resources, how you share yourself. And that could be maybe you receive an inheritance and it forces you to shift, like, oh, well, now I have all this energy to do creative projects. Maybe you get married. Oh, now I'm having a child. Maybe you decide to get divorced and you have to deal with what to do with the children. Maybe you have a new business partnership and it forces you to pay attention to creativity in a different way if you've had a lot of time to be creative. Or maybe you see how these things kind of will affect each other. One is shifting and the other is shifting, and they're like, we both have to like make adjustments depending on the other. So your boundaries, your trust issues, all of that is like, maybe you have to trust people in order to show your creativity or to feel like you can trust with that inner child energy. But these two areas are for Libra rising. All right, Scorpio rising, Scorpio suns, but definitely rising more so than sun. We got this going on here. This Aquarius is happening in the area of home for you. Definitely probably going to be moving or fixing your house or buying some property or really doing some deep ancestral family work. I mean, emotional security is this area. So home, family, you could even say things like marriages and children happen in this area as well because it deals with home and family. But it could be parents that you're dealing with, opening a place of business, like that sort of a thing, because that's sort of a home. Living cooperatively, unconventional domestic arrangements, new technologies in the home, innovative ways of feeling emotionally secure. Maybe something happens in your life and you're like, oh, maybe you have a new job and you're like, oh, I feel much better, more emotionally secure about myself. So where is the Taurus stuff happening? Relationships. That's where you're going to have this value shift. Maybe something there changes that makes you more emotionally secure and you feel like you can really look at the future now. You're like, I feel so secure because I've had this shift in how I relate to people and my values around the people I want to be in my life. So, I mean, in that way, they will pull on each other. It's like my emotional security does not feel comfortable with that person anymore. So I'm going to kick them out of my home. These two things. So your values around relationships are also affecting your home life and your family. So it could be dealing with parents, dealing with and having to learn how to relate to them in a new way. And it's like, they are so not in tune with my values. How can I let them live with me? Right. So that's just something that Scorpio risings could be dealing with. Or, I met someone new and now we're going to move in together. And that's always an adjustment. Relationships, home and family for Scorpio risings. By the way, I'm a Scorpio sun, right? I already told you I was a Cancer rising, and my parents are moving in with me on the Great Conjunction. I'm a Scorpio sun. My parents are moving in with me. Tongue in cheek, I'm really excited about it. I love them. But it's crazy how this stuff can really show up in reality. So that's just an aside, a little personal aside there. Okay, so Sagittarius rising, Sagittarius sun. Let's look at you. Let's look at where Aquarius is for you. We got circle. So Aquarius is in a place that represents how you think, how you do things every day. And that's truly what's going to be going on here. How you communicate. So it could be learning and education in the third house, also teaching, acquiring knowledge that will be of like practical value, becoming better informed, becoming like a leader in terms of communicating, in terms of even your neighborhood. The third house rules neighborhood and siblings. So you could also have sibling stuff come up here. But there's something to do with social evolution through the way you communicate. So maybe you help bring about some specific social issues and social change by sharing it, screaming about it, saying it to the world. Maybe you're starting to write something, starting to blog, but just more sharing, more open communication with you and innovation in how you do that. I mean, it may even be as simple as changing social media platforms or maybe having a website, something like that. And then the Taurus stuff, the shift in values is happening in your health, your daily life. And so that's really going to be, maybe that's what you end up having to shift, is like, I have to communicate better. So that makes me need a better routine, right? There is just maybe it is that you have to communicate your boundaries in terms of your health, in terms of your daily life, in terms of your coworkers. But so something could be happening in your job, with work, or with health that is pulling on this third house, how you think, how you go about things every day. So it's a very everyday transit for you, Sagittarius rising, Sagittarius sun. And it will have implications in reality. Like you'll be able to see this happen for yourself. I mean, I think everyone will be able to, but this is like a real, like, mundane place for it to happen. So like new car even. And maybe you need to ask for more money at work to get a new car because the third house rules traveling short distances, right? So you even may take a job that requires you to travel more. But those two things are what's going on for you, Sag risings. Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun. I know a bunch of y'all been shifting this year. So interestingly, whatever was going on last year has led to a new financial cycle for you. This is actually very auspicious for financial things for Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun. This could be a commitment to like a set financial goals, right? Or the likelihood of earning more money. Maybe really being specific about who you're spending your money with, like really looking at your money as social change, as a catalyst for social change, because that's what money is. So if you make more money, you can help the world more. But this has a lot to do with money and self-worth. So new innovative ways of having your own self-worth. Now, where is Taurus for you? Taurus is in your 5th house of inner child and children. So there could, and romance, there could be some change there with children, creative projects, or maybe feeling like you want to be more creative, or maybe you have to, maybe something's challenging that inner child in you, and you're really forced to look at your own self-worth and go, wait a minute, I'm worth more than this. I'm worth more than feeling like I can't share myself with you, like I can't have fun. So is it money or is it fun that you want in your life? Is it, oh, it's both? Well, then they're both going to have to be shifting together. So maybe it means you have to save more money to have more fun, things like that. So there's definitely a money connotation for you, Capricorn rising. And then how you use that money creatively to have fun, or how you are able to allow yourself to be more in touch with your inner child. Are you really using your money, for the right things? Maybe even responsibly. But there is something here with finances and self-worth for you. Okay, so let's look at Aquarius rising, Aquarius sun. Well, by golly, this is happening in your 1st house. This is you. This is who you are. That's what's shifting. That's what's changing. That's what the new cycle is. So being more of an individual, maybe even a new professional demeanor because Saturn's there, maybe even advancement in your career, organizing groups and communities. People are going to see you as the leader for the community, assuming more responsibility. That's how people are going to view you, or as an innovative, different person leading this social change. A Taurus is in the area of home and emotional security for you. So the shift in values around what makes you feel emotionally secure is going to be pulling on this identity. So it's like, if you want to be this leader, this social change leader, this new person, innovative person, well, you're going to have to feel more emotionally secure. And if that takes financial security for you, you're going to have to realize that. So these two things are going to be pulling on you. It's like if you put yourself out there in the community, you may get criticism, and that will challenge your emotional security. And that could also have to do with your home and family, if something shifts there, if you haven't dealt with any issues there, but really figuring out where this bottom line self-worth is, especially in terms of emotional security. That's going to really be affecting this need for social advancement, need for being a leader. And you're going to have to balance both of them to make sure you are emotionally secure enough to do this. Okay. That was Aquarius Rising, Aquarius Sun, but a whole new identity for Aquarius Rising, Aquarius Sun. All right. Pisces Rising, Pisces Sun. This is the last sign. All right. Jupiter, Saturn conjunction in your 12th house of spirituality, dreams, karma, enlightenment. So, you know, pursuing your inner journey, new understanding of like the laws of the universe. It could be just new spiritual goals, really looking at the future through a spiritual lens, assuming the social identity of a mystic or, you know, something like that. But that's really what this new cycle is about for you. It's highly spiritual, really focused in dreams and the ether and being able, so I would say super creative for you, being able to pull things out of the ether like that. And then Taurus for you, Pisces Rising, Pisces Sun, is in the 3rd house, which is communication. So how do you communicate? How do you really integrate into your mind these very mystical experiences, these very esoteric, metaphysical, you know, the muses give you something. Now, how do you communicate it? That's what this is for you, Pisces Rising. And that is, so making sure that you're actually staying grounded in reality as well and in what the mind is. And so don't, I would say with Pisces Risings, just be careful of that escapist tendency here. But when you go the other side of the coin, that is highly spiritual, highly intuitive, highly creative new cycle that you are starting, and you're going to communicate it with the world. So that finishes out the transits. I gave you through January 19th. That's really what the first initial adjustments are going to be, right? So they're going to come up. Now, they are happening all year long. So I don't want to say that just the first 20 days of this is going to be like the only time you know, notice that it's happening. But for the next 30 days, that's going to be, I think, when it first initially comes into our consciousness, where we first go, oh my gosh, this is a new world. This is a big change. Like I said, the new year is looking more like January 19th or January 20th. Like it really takes off starting then, because Mars leaves its square with Saturn around January 19th and 20th. And I will be back, obviously, for the full moon in Cancer video, which is just like a few days from now. This 7 days, it's on the 29th or something. So I'll be back around then for that, and I'll try to, you know, hone in a little bit on the days ahead. But I hope this helped for the Jupiter Saturn conjunctions. I have a whole 2021 year ahead webinar. The button is on my website. Actually, let me see if I can share it. Here we go. Let me just go on to my little website here, and I'll share where the button is from a webinar that you can purchase. Let's see here. Yeah, so let me share this. And the best way to get in touch with me is email, ecstaticastrology@gmail.com. I don't have a personal Facebook. Facebook deleted my account, so I have a page. I do not have a personal Facebook. So if you want to know anything more, you can email me. Also, this is my website. You can purchase the 2021 year ahead webinar here under videos and other merch. If you want to book a session or anything like that, I will have a sale right now going on. So this sale is pretty awesome. It is like, for instance, the 30 and 45-minute sessions are only for follow-up, only if you've ever had a session with me before, because we can't get anything done if you've never seen me before in that amount of time. But the hour sessions are $32 off the regular price. They're $75. The regular price is $107. So deeply discounted. The 90-minute sessions are $104 right now as a holiday. That's $30 off the regular price. So please, if you want to know more about your chart and have a session with me, go book a session. I have a 2021 year ahead personal planning session. It's an hour and 15 minutes. And yeah, so that's how you book with me. If you just want your chart, I will not be able to spend a whole bunch of time telling you anything. That's not what that is. But I will send you your chart in an email if you send me your birth time. Have no problem pulling up a chart and sending it to you. Very easy for me to do. As always, if you have any problem forwarding it, send me an email with your circumstances, because I absolutely have sliding scale stuff available. I want to make this accessible to everybody. And other than that, I will be back for the full moon. And thank you guys very, very much for tuning in. I hope this helped a little bit. The 2021 Year Ahead webinar goes through the entire year, specific dates. You get a spreadsheet of all of the important dates as well. And that's only, I think, $35. So just let me know. I'm really, really excited about this year, and I really am looking forward to the shifts. It may not be super comfortable because it's going to be a lot of change, but it's going to be necessary and beautiful change. I will put this up on Instagram and YouTube later. Actually, right now I will. This is what I do on my Saturdays. Yay. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so grateful to be able to help people for a living. It is an honor, and it's wonderful, and it's beautiful. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Symbolically make a gesture for your future. That's the thing. That's the thing to do. All right.